Nobody is Superman and no woman is Wonder Woman. We're all very vulnerable. We all have weaknesses. And I want to focus today on something all of us have a weakness in. It is impossible that offenses will not come, but woe to him through whom they come. Jesus said it is impossible that offenses should not come to you. It's just impossible for you to live your life. You're going to be offended. Something someone is going to say is going to offend you. It's not possible to escape it. It's coming. It probably already has happened. And here's a news flash. It's going to happen again and again and again. There's no way out of it, Jesus said. It will happen. There's no one exempt. Nobody's Superman. Nobody's Wonder Woman. This one's going to get you. There's no way to avoid it. Somebody's going to shame you. Somebody's going to outrage you. Somebody's going to insult you. Somebody's going to humiliate you. You're going to get offended. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get angry. You're going to get violated. Didn't you come to church to hear this? Your pride's going to be insulted. It is a biblical fact. Jesus himself said it is impossible for you to escape being offended in your lifetime. It's going to happen. And since it's impossible to escape it, you got to learn how to deal with it. Because not being offended is unachievable. It's not doable. There are no exemptions from it. It's going to happen to you. It's interesting that in New Zealand, only a certain amount of the birds can fly. 41% of the birds in New Zealand are flightless. The kiwi, the penguin, and on, they cannot fly. And here's the reason why. There are no predators on the island of New Zealand. They do not have snakes. They do not have wolves. They do not have bobcats. They don't have anything that would eat the birds. Therefore, if there are no predators, there's no need to fly. And when there's no need to fly, you lose eventually the ability to fly. If you go to New Zealand, and I've gone many times and preached, you'll see birds walking around everywhere, and they don't have wings, they have little knobs. They've lost their wings through the generations because nothing ever opposed them. Nothing ever came against them. Nothing ever was a predator in their life. So it's a predator that creates the ability to fly. If you want to scratch around in the barnyard for the rest of your life, then just don't have any enemies and just don't have any problems and just don't go through any offense. But if you want to soar like an eagle, you can, but it's going to require some opposition. In other words, airplanes take off going into the wind. If you talk to any pilot will tell you when they're taking off in an airplane, they want to know which direction the wind is blowing so that they can go into the wind, because it's the wind that gives the airplane something called the lift. Without the wind opposing the wings of that plane, it won't get lift. And it's so important that we understand that 41% of the birds in New Zealand cannot fly because they have never had opposition. They've never had a predator. They've never had a problem. And you'll never mount up with wings as eagles until you go through attack and you go through persecution and you go through being offended. Opposition enables you to do things you could not do had you not had opposition coming against you. It's what gives you lift. It'll make you lift your prayer life. It'll make you lift. You'll run to God. You'll mount up with wings as eagles and fly to God. And if you'd have stayed, if you don't have the opposition, you'll stay right where you are. God intends for the winds of contrary opposition to take you higher. They'll make you fly to God. Now, what was taking place in this story in the Old Testament in 2 Samuel 10 is this. David was king of Israel. and he heard one of his old friends, King Nahash, had died. And he thought to himself, he's been kind to me. He was always kind to me. He was a good man. So I want to show some honor and be kind back to him. And I know his son is taking the throne. So as a gesture, like we would do here in America, if we heard a president in some other nation had died, we out of respect the president himself would go, or he'd send his vice president, or he'd send some high official to show condolences and to show and hopefully give some comfort and share and say we care enough to send representatives on behalf of America to grieve with your nation. Well, this is what David was trying to do. He was trying to show kindness. So he sent two of his mightiest men in his army to go to this foreign country. The children of Ammon, the Ammonites, their king had died and his son was taking the throne. And when they got there, someone had gotten into the young prince's ear and said, do you really think that they're coming to show comfort to us, to show respect and honor to us? They're not coming for that. They're coming to kill. They're coming to spy out the land. They're measuring the walls. They're trying to figure out, they're here spying this place out. They're getting intel that they're going to take back and they're noticing where our weaknesses are, and they're going to invade our city and take our city. And so the Bible said after they were falsely accused, because they were falsely accused, and they were not there for that reason. They had no evil intentions. They were there to show kindness from their king. Now this is important. These men were sent by the king, doing the king's will when somebody is about to offend them. You can be in the perfect will of God and do everything right, and you still can't escape being offended. They falsely accused them, and the Bible said that this prince ordered that half of their beard be shaved off. I'll explain how of a humiliating thing that was. And then that their skirt or their robe be cut off all the way in the back up to their buttocks to expose their rear ends. How humiliating. Half their beard cut off. I think it's funny whether you do or not. And do you want me to illustrate? And they cut off and they're showing it's like spanked babies. I mean, these mighty men, for the mighty men, it probably would have been better had they beat them up or stabbed them or wounded them or cut them. But to go home like this, to go home totally humiliated, half of your beard is gone. And on top of that, your rear end is showing, and you spank baby, go home, and they're humiliated. And it's you talk about being offended. It wasn't a physical thing that was so bad. It was the emotional fact that they had been humiliated and offended. I'm not sure they would have got a lot of sympathy from other Bible characters. I doubt Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego would have been very sympathetic. We got thrown into the fiery furnace, and all that happened to you is you got a little trim to your beard and you're showing a little underwear. That's not persecution. You ought to go through what we went through. And maybe Daniel would have said, my goodness, that's nothing compared to what my enemies did to me. They threw me in the lion's den. But they're going through it. Mentally, emotionally. The Bible said that they leave that place humiliated. The cutting off of the beard in Middle Eastern thinking, still to this day, was distinction and honor and maturity. Like in the Middle East, they were tampering. When he shaved half the beard off of these men, they were tampering with their rank, with their identity, with their pride. They sent them home like children, humiliated. Who they were, a token of their authority, had been cut off, and now they're showing their back parts are exposed. How humiliating. And it all happened doing the king's business, doing exactly what they were told to do. If you live for God and you seek to do His will, you will find yourself wounded doing God's perfect will. No one is exempt from it. If you get in a church like this, you will get wounded. Isn't that beautiful? Wow. Sing in the choir, you will get wounded. Usher, you will get wounded. Park cars, somebody's going to flip you a bird. You will get wounded. It's doing the will of God. Somebody's going to roll their eyes. Somebody's going to talk about you. Welcome to life. I love this story because the Bible said as they were approaching, coming back home, these mighty men, again, these were not weak men. These were not just little wimpy guys. They didn't even go prepared to fight. They probably would have fought, but they didn't even have their weapons with them. They were going on a peace journey, a comfort journey. And now they're coming home humiliated. They're looking at each other and about to come home to their hometown. And David hears what happened, and he sends a man out and says, don't let them come into the town. I don't want them in the town circle to be humiliated and the other people and the other mighty men to see them. Tell them instead to go to Jericho. Now listen to this. Jericho means sweet fragrance. I want them to go over there to that sweet place, and I want them to stay there and lodge there until their beard grows back, and we'll get a seamstress down there, and we'll get their rear ends covered up, and everything's going to be fine. But I need them just to go to Jericho, the sweet place. Go to Jericho, listen to the instructions. When you get offended, here it is. I love the fact that he didn't let them come in and everybody see them in their shame. It reminds me of the prodigal son story when the father heard his prodigal son was coming home covered in the slop of the pig pen. He ran out with the robe, with the shoes, covered him, didn't want all those people to see him in his condition. I'm thankful we got that kind of king who doesn't want to humiliate us and doesn't want people to see our shame. Just go to Jericho. When somebody offends you, listen now, just go to Jericho and stay sweet. Your beard will grow back. Your beard, your respect will come back. Your honor will come back. Your authority is coming. I know what they did was bad, but calm down, calm down. It'll all come back. It'll grow back. Don't get mad. Don't get angry. Don't seek vengeance. If you'll just stay sweet, everything's going to get better. It's going to work for your good. Just keep the right spirits. Go to Jericho, the sweet place, and stay sweet. Stay at Jericho till your beard comes back. I promise you, everything's going to be all right. It's so hard to stay sweet when we get offended. The natural person just wants to get in a shouting match, get in a fight. You cut my rear end and exposed it. I'm going to do something even worse to you. Here I go. And we want to go after and retaliate. And the king said, you go to Jericho. You stay sweet till your beard grows back. I think of Romans 14 right here. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, neither give place to wrath, for vengeance is mine. I will repay, says the Lord.